Hello and welcome. My name is Sharon and this is Trio.of.Witches Tarot, and this is a BR to Sylvia at Fairlight Tarot, and this is Beloved Monster Decks. And I have done my best to use a monstery deck to be included in any one of the prompts. I think there are, let me see, I forget how many. 13? 10. There are 10 prompts. So let's get to it. So the first prompt is the Frankenstein, a collage deck that is misunderstood but has a heart of gold. And for that I chose Madame Lydia Wilhelmina's a lot of other stuff, long name. And this is a collage deck. It is kind of spooky, monstery, Halloween, costume party-ish almost. And I feel like maybe this deck gets placed in only at Halloween kind of usage, but I use this all year long because I just think it's really, really beautiful and it's a really good reader. It's just so well done. It's some of the best collage in all of my collage decks, and it has some of my favorite cards of all time, like the Ace of Cups. Where is it? Yes. The Ace of Cups is one of my favorite cards in general, and then this Ace of Cups is just outstanding. And the Devil is amazing. And then the Fool, it's just fun. It has to me it has kind of a little bit of a sense of humor at the same time being sort of spooky, but also it speaks to something deeper, right? These people with these masks kind of speak to the masks that we wear. So there is something deeper to it. It is a deep deck. And it's still, even though it's kind of creepy, it's still gentle. Like none of these are really ghoulish or particularly violent or anything in any way, or scary. So this, I think, yeah, this fits. So this is my choice for the Frankenstein. Okay, and the second prompt is the Dracula, a deck that is sensual and sophisticated. And for this one, I think it's my only that I wouldn't put in the sort of Halloween-y category, but it is very autumnal. So I think it still kind of fits in what I was trying to do. And this is just a really, really beautiful deck. And the art style, I think of itself even is sensual. I think so. There's a little bit of nudity in it, but I don't think nudity in and of itself is sensual. Sensual is about, to me anyway, about enjoying earthly delights and not necessarily totally giving over to them, but celebrating them, like this guy. And just kind of reveling in being in this incarnation that's sensual to me. And that's a nice Ace of Cups. And it's very autumnal and it's sophisticated also. Yes, this feels very that way. It almost feels like this is the daylight, and at night Dracula lives somewhere. Maybe he lives in that tower. Yes, I don't use this deck enough. I need to get this out. I'm going to read at a Halloween party. I'm going to bring this. So that was my choice for the Dracula. And prompt number 3 is the Werewolf, a deck that is best used in a full moon. And for that I chose El Goliath. And one of the reasons for that is because I see the werewolf as a myth, but it's about the animal that's in all of us, that primal animal energy. and that being released at the full moon and celebrated sort of like, what is it, Amok Time or whatever it was in Star Trek, nerd alert. But this just feels full moony. Also, the quality of the light in these cards feels like being on a beach at full moon. It feels like going into the moon and that shadow, but yet it's being illuminated. It's not hidden and dark. I don't know if that even makes sense. It makes sense to me. But this just feels like a werewolf deck. In part because it's all animals. In part because of the quality of light and that feeling of reaching into your own animal instincts and facing them, acknowledging them. So that's my choice for the werewolf. So prompt number 4 is the Grim Reaper, a deck that feels very final and unmovable. And so for that I chose the Brady Tarot. And maybe my reasons for choosing this aren't entirely in alignment with the prompt itself. The Grim Reaper I feel like it is, but the rest of that description, not so much. Because to me, the Brady Tarot, there's this idea of that their death is a part of life. And I kind of feel like there's death in every card. Like, I don't, maybe that's not making sense. Maybe you don't see that. It's a beautiful deck. And I think it speaks to this beauty in the cycles of nature, and part of that cycle of nature is death. And now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like it also does speak to that it's final and unmovable, where this is a very forthright deck. Okay, it kind of just says, hey, here's what I'm saying, and you kind of can't argue with it. I don't know. I don't know if any of that makes sense. But at least, yes, there's death in every card. Somewhere in every card there's this pointing to that. So that's the Grim Reaper, the Brady Tarot. Okay, and prompt number 5 is the Creature from the Black Lagoon, a deck that loves water, but it's not afraid of getting dirty. And for that, I chose the Stolen Child Tarot. Mine is trimmed. And the reason I chose this is because all of these children are in some stage of becoming a creature. And it is an emotional deck. There's a kind of sadness to it. A kind of speaking to loss of innocence, loss of childhood. And there's a lot of water in the deck itself. But they're not entirely human, and they're not entirely a creature either. So, yes. Kind of discovering as I'm going, I chose these decks a few days ago, put them up here, and now I'm reconvincing myself about my choices. Love that moon card. Yeah, I feel like this feels like the Creature from the Black Lagoon. So that's my choice for the Creature from the Black Lagoon, the Stolen Child Tarot. And prompt number 6 is the Freddy Krueger, a scruffy deck that has a terrifying sense of humor. And for that, I picked the Zombie Tarot. I feel like that's kind of on the nose. It is kind of gruesome, but it's very cheeky, very funny. It's got some gore, but it's got a sense of humor about it. It's very fun. Sometimes I don't use this just for Halloween. Sometimes I just get it out because I want to laugh. And I just look at it. I don't even use it for a reading. And this generally isn't my aesthetic, but it's just fun. That's just fun. The Lovers. Those are just fun. And it's a great tarot. All of this is on point for tarot. Yes. It's kind of a gruesome sense of humor, but it's a sense of humor. So that's my Freddy Krueger deck, Zombie Tarot. Prompt number 7 is the Chucky, a doll-like deck that may stab you in the back. And for that I chose the Crimson Hysteria. This is a deck that I originally didn't want to get because I don't usually like these kind of blobby body form kind of body shapes. One card always bugged me, it has a little defect. But they grew on me and now I think they're adorable. But it's still a very intense deck. Even though I think they're super cute beings. I could love that. Love that. Love that Three of Pentacles. But it doesn't hold back on being intense, at the same time kind of being these cute, weird beings. So yeah, kind of, I guess it fits the, what's the word I'm looking for? It's the profile of the description of this. It's a long way of getting around the word that I can't remember. And it has a mummy. Very nice. Okay, so yes, that is my Chucky deck, a doll-like deck, Crimson Hysteria. Okay, so prompt number 8 is the Zombie, an airy deck that is hungry for brains. And staying true to form for me, picking the Marielle because it wouldn't be VR without Marielle somewhere in it. So I don't know that I think of this as an airy deck, but it is a deck that requires some mental gymnastics sometimes and a lot of thought because it kind of is its own system. It can be fit into what I think of as sort of a mashup of RWS and Thoth and TDM, but not really. There's numerology in it, there's astrology in it, but it kind of just is its own thing. And it's not for everyone, but the people that it is for, they know. It just speaks to you in a very intuitive way, but at the same time, a very intellectual way. And it takes some thinking about these cards and what they mean. It isn't just a quick hit, hey, I just want a quick reading deck. Not at all. So yes, I can see them. Yes, the Marielle is definitely hungry for your brains. Sometimes I feel like my brain is melting when I'm using this deck. So that's the Zombie, the Marielle. Prompt number 9 is the Pennywise the Clown, a deck that is deceivingly whimsical, but is actually very intense. And I picked the Eye of the Soul. However you say that in French, I'm not going to try because it would sound awful. So I think if you know this deck, you're going to agree. So it starts off with these really cute, kind of adorable creatures. And there's a clown as the fool. It's very colorful and kind of whimsical in the majors. You're going along, you're like, oh, there's another clown. There's the fool again. And even Death is cute. It's got this sun winking at you in the background. And it's fun. And then, all of a sudden, in the minors, you have these kind of gray tone cards and bodies with arms and legs that aren't entirely attached. And then the court cards they have extra ones. So they have a page, knight, queen, king, and then they have a witch and a guardian. That's out of order. So, yes. It's whimsical, but actually very intense. And it kind of has this make your own, you could switch out in the courts, you could switch out the guardian for the king and the witch for the queen, or you can keep all 6 if you wanted to. And it is ostensibly RWS, but kind of its own thing also. I tend to go for kind of intense, weird decks, maybe. Do I? Star, so pretty. So that's my Pennywise the Clown. So we are at the last prompt, and it is the Mummy, a deck that is covered in many layers. And for that, I chose the Trio.of.Witches. And I could have chosen one of the Robert M. Place decks, like the Terror of the Sevenfold Mystery. It is kind of in the same class as this, where it's got all this alchemy in it, and there's a lot going on in these cards. And there's a lot of depth to them. But you can read this as an RWS. It is RWS based. You can ignore all the sacred geometry going on in the background. You can just look at the figures and kind of what's going on in the foreground and not worry about all the rest of that, all the alchemy that's included in this. If you don't want to, because I don't always. I love this deck. I think it's so pretty. Sometimes I just want to use it and not have to think so hard. And there's a lot of different cultures in this deck. It's, it's a clone, but it's not a direct clone, and there's a lot of other cultural references in here. It's a great deck. And you can do your own, with the expansion, you can kind of make your own deck experience. And there's an extra suit of vessels. So it's 5 minor arcana suits. Yes. Many, many layers to this deck. And a gigantic companion guidebook now. So that's my Mummy, the Trio.of.Witches. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. And I want to thank Sylvia for creating this tag, because it was a lot of fun. So please remember to like and subscribe and click on the bell so you know when I have new videos if you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourself, and bye.